Today is day 89 of the podcast, and we're going to look at the last phrase from Matthew 17:20 about moving mountains. And that last phrase is, nothing will be impossible to you. Where does that verse show up the first time? Let's look there and see if we get a little bit of a clue about what God might be looking for. So it shows up the first time in Genesis 11, and I'm going to start reading at verse 1. Now the whole earth used the same language and the same words. And it came about as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they used brick for stone and they used tar for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build for ourselves a city and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. And let us make for ourselves a name, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth," which had been God's command. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language, and this is what they began to do. And now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them." I'm not going to finish reading the rest of the story, but God sees a people operating in oneness and says that nothing will be impossible for them. They operated in unity, but they operated in a rebellious unity, and God scatters them. We learn a powerful truth here, and the power of oneness, and that the power of oneness begins to bring us to this place where nothing is impossible. Now I want to read to you from John chapter 11, starting at verse 49, and there's a prophecy here. Verse 49, "A certain one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, 'You know nothing at all, nor do you take into account that it is expedient for you that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation should not perish.' Now this he did not say on his own initiative, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but that he might also gather together into one the children of God who are scattered abroad." When Christ comes and completes the Father's will, there is a bringing back into oneness in submission to God, a people again. This is a powerful promise. Now, let's look at Luke 1, verse 37, and see what happens when God gets involved with us. This is when the Lord is speaking to Mary about the incarnation and is pulling off some some miraculous things concerning Elizabeth being pregnant in her old age, and then Mary getting pregnant as a virgin. "Behold, even your relative Elizabeth has also conceived a son in her old age, and she who was called barren is now in her 6th month." And then Luke 1:37, "For nothing will be impossible with God." So there's two kinds of oneness. There's a kind that's in rebellion, and then there's a oneness where a people come together in faith. Then we have Jeremiah 32, verse 17. "Ah, Lord God, behold, thou hast made the heavens and the earth by thy great power and by thine outstretched hand. Nothing is too difficult for thee." So with God, in oneness, nothing is impossible. Here's your question for today. What is the state of your heart with others, other believers in the body? Are you aware of any breaches that need healing or forgiveness or restoration? What is the state of your heart with God? Are there any breaches? Are any places you need forgiveness or restoration?